Hi, this is T. Payton, Creative Director and Final Cut Pro 10 Editor in Albuquerque, New Mexico, USA. For about a year, I've been working on a tutorial, and as I've tried to sit down and record it, I can never get the thing right. It's just too complicated. So I thought, you know what, I'm just going to get this thing out and get the information to you, and hopefully it's going to be beneficial. There might be a bit of rambling. It might not be terribly interesting. I might make errors, but it's going to be just like you're here with me in my office, and I can hopefully give you some beneficial information. And the topic is on subclips. So here's something I've seen. I've seen this on Twitter, seen this on forums. Can Final Cut 10 subclip? You know, it's kind of funny if you go to the help menu in Final Cut 10. Here, look, check it out. So you go here and you type subclip, and you find nothing. And I think some people type that and then they conclude, hey, there's no subclipping in Final Cut 10. Well, nothing could be further from the truth. There is tremendous subclipping ability in Final Cut 10. It just isn't called subclipping. Let's go back to my keynote here. So I've entitled this presentation, pseudo-tutorial, Subclip Love for Final Cut Pro 10. And this is based on version 1.1.1. And I hope you can see by this title that one of the things the Final Cut team has done is given us a ridiculous amount of subclipping ability. Ridiculous, I'll show you in just a second. But first of all, let's talk about why subclipping isn't called subclipping in Final Cut 10. Think of it this way. It's organizing and working with portions of clips. That's what a subclip is. But this word subclip can really be a barrier to someone, and they're like, well, what are you talking about? But if you told someone, hey, I'm just going to work with a portion of clip, it's like, oh, that makes sense. So if you define it that way, take a look at what the options are in Final Cut 10. I made this little chart. So look over here. This is ridiculous. Look at all the different ways you can work with portions of clips. And you could say, in a sense, these are subclips. You've got favorites, rejects, keywords. These are range-based, something that Final Cut 10 has really championed. Now, then we have these things called independent clips. They're not really independent because compound and multicam are really reference clips, but in these independent clips, they act like clips. It acts more like a subclip that someone might be used to. And then we've got this really bizarre thing called a pick, which is an audition clip. It's really weird. You kind of have to get your brain around it, but it can be useful in some situations. So what I want to do is I want to walk through all these things individually. And then if you look at these other columns, I want to talk in detail about these. First of all, what metadata can you have for each kind of these subclip things? And also, what is brought to the timeline? And then what are some specific usage that I've found when I use these type of subclips? And hopefully as we dive through these things, it's going to be really helpful for you, and you're going to find something that's useful from it. But before we do that, let's lay a few ground rules here. Talk about ranges. So a range is a portion of a clip, a shorter part of a clip, or the entire clip. So as you can see, we're just kind of visualizing ranges here by this yellow range tool that you've seen. You've seen this in iOS. You've seen it all over the place. Now, one thing about ranges, though, is there's very limited metadata. Look back at the chart here. If we look at the range portion here, favorites, rejects, and keywords, the metadata is very limited. You can have main clip metadata, favorite label, favorite notes, notes for each range, limited, very limited to what goes in the timeline. But look at what happens with independent clips, for example. In contrast, you have lots of metadata. So if we look at what clips are, it's the asset from which ranges are selected. It's the best I could come up with. And it has full metadata. In other words, all the stuff you need. It has things like scene and shot and camera name, a camera angle, things like that. Something that a range doesn't have at all. So again, here's this chart. We're going to be referring back to this quite a bit. And let's dive into Final Cut. Oh, that's right. There's one more thing I wanted to tell you about. And that is this thing called the filter pop-up. Now, this filter pop-up you can either love or hate, depending on if you understand it right. So let me show you one of the issues with this and how you select things. So let's head into Final Cut. Okay, so here's a little clip. My son was working on a student feature. This is one of our family friends, and they shot this at our church. So look what I've done. I have made a deletion range in the middle of the clip. Let me just show you, in case you're really new to this, let me show you how that works. I'm going to unrate this entire clip here, and I'm going to select a portion of this. Let me show this to you in list view so it makes a little more sense. Now I'm going to select a range. I'm just going to drag over this. I'm going to hold down the Option key to drag it because I already had a range selected. It's your first kind of tip. So I'm just going to hit reject. Okay, wonderful. Now let's go back to list view and let's start looking at this. Okay, if we show all clips, if we look back at our little definition here, all clips is the only way to ensure that you're seeing full clips and not ranges. Because look at this. If I go up here and choose hide rejected, I've got 2 clips. No, I actually don't. You have 2 ranges that are shown here. But wait, I only made 1 range selection. Yeah, you're showing the things that aren't rejected. So you've got 2 clips. So then if you went, well, so wait, if I show favorites, I've got nothing. If I show rejected, I've just got 1. Let me go back here to icon. Whoa, or film strip view. So just realize this can really kind of mess you up because you might think, oh wait, why do I have 2 copies of the clip here? And then you might say, I'm going to delete that. What? It's gone. Everything's gone here. So just be really aware of this little thing up here. Look at this also. Let's head back to here. Now this all kind of falls apart if you're showing a keyword collection or smart collection. Then ranges will show. So let's flip back here. So in this case, let's set a range. Again, I'm option dragging here, and we're gonna drag this into keyword. What's the simplest keyword I could think of? And drag this here. Okay. Now if we show again all clips, but we show the keyword, then we've suddenly like we're showing 2. Well, that's because it's the ranges that have the tag keyword that are shown here, and it looks like we have 2 clips, but in reality we have 1, but we're thinking, oh, we're showing all clips. That's because we're viewing a keyword. Now if you make a smart collection with a keyword, it's going to do the same thing. Look at the smart collection definition here. This is include any keyword. Okay. But if you make a smart collection that is, for example, just video and audio clips, here's the definition for that, video with audio, then it's just going to show 1 clip when you view all clips. So be aware of this, and it can kind of mess you up. If you feel like, hey, my browser is just acting crazy bizarre, check and make sure that you're not doing something like hide rejected here and you see a whole bunch of different clips here. Now you want to be able to use hide rejected to your benefit, but just be aware of what's happening up there.